Over its 20-year history, the Halo series has seen a wide variety in playable multiplayer game modes. We're all acutely aware of classics like Capture the Flag, Infection, Juggernaut, Oddball, but one that is spoken about much less is actually from Halo 5. And this mode, in my opinion, is the best that we've seen in the game's history, and one that I'm shocked never returned in Halo Infinite. If you haven't already put the pieces together, I'm of course referring to Warzone, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about this mode, what makes it so fun, the areas in which I think it went wrong and could be improved upon, and why I believe it needs to come back in either Halo Infinite or a future installment in the Halo series. Alongside this, I'll also be taking a look at another mode and talking about how you could potentially blend Warzone with this other addition to create something truly special. Anyways, without wasting any more of your time, let's jump straight in. So first things first, what is Warzone? If you're a newcomer to the Halo series and started with Halo Infinite, or you skipped Halo 5 entirely, then you might not actually be familiar with this mode. Essentially, it's a 12v12 big team battle PvPvE based defense game mode. Players spawn in near their home base and need to clear it out of an enemy infestation, which will either be Prometheans or the Covenant. After completing this, you now have a few goals. First of all, your team needs 1,000 points in order to win, but how do you acquire these points? Well, there's a multitude of different ways. First of all, and your main source of points through the match will be from capturing bases. There's always 3 of these, one next to each team's respective home base, and then there'll be an additional one in the middle. And this will likely be where most of the confrontation in the match takes place. The team with more bases is of course going to generate more points as the match goes on. However, this isn't the only way to generate points, as you also get a point per eliminating players, and also from taking down bosses. As I mentioned, Warzone is also PvE, which means there'll be various enemy forces dropped into the map as the match goes on. And again, these are usually a mix of Prometheans or the Covenant, and taking these bosses down will usually award your team with a large chunk of points. Smaller and weaker bosses, like Promethean soldiers or elite captains, will only give you about 25, but some of the more challenging bosses like Warden Eternal will award you with a lot more. And taking down these bosses can quite often be the key to victory, as that large chunk of points can give you the edge over the opposing team, even if beforehand you were losing. However, there is also another way to win a match, and if you capture all 3 bases, then this will become very clear very quickly. As I mentioned, Warzone is also a base defense game mode. So if the opposing team, or if your team captures all 3 of the bases available in the map, you'll now have the option to destroy the enemy core. And this can be done pretty early on in a match too if you're fast enough. And essentially this now means the enemy's home base will be open to all players, meaning you can run in, destroy their core, and instantly end the game. All of these different factors combined add so many different gameplay elements to Warzone that make it unbelievably enjoyable. The PvE side of things means it's more accessible to casual players, but the fact that you're rewarded for taking down enemies and capturing bases also means that the mode can be quite competitive. However, there is another major element of the Warzone game mode, something that drew quite a lot of negative attention upon its reveal, and this is the rec system. Throughout the match, players will have a rec level, and this will be increased throughout the match as you capture bases, take down enemies, and take down bosses. And this rec level is incredibly important, as it allows you to spawn in different loadout weapons, different power weapons, and even vehicles, alongside power-ups such as active camo, overshield, or even perks like increased shielding and increased ammo. Now this in itself isn't really a problem. You level your recs up naturally through the match just by completing different objectives, and it does mean that players that are better at the game get awarded for their efforts, which is cool. However, the issue lies in how you get these recs and how you unlock them. Technically speaking, throughout the match itself, the process is fair. However, the only way to unlock recs is through the rec packs, which again, these can be unlocked for free. Every time you complete a match in Halo 5, you get awarded a certain amount of rec points, and these can be spent on the packs, which unlock you different pieces of armor, but also the recs that you use in the Warzone game mode. But unfortunately, there's also a pay-to-win side of this, as you can purchase the rec packs with real money, which means people that spent more money on the game will have better recs. And although they still have to level up in the match in order to acquire those and actually be able to use them, at the same time, someone that has an endless supply of Scorpions is going to be much more of a threat, making the game mode often unfair. You can also get boosts, increasing the amount of rec points that you earn, but again, you can only get these through packs, so the whole process can be quite aggravating. And if Warzone is to ever return, this side of the game mode needs to disappear. I don't mean the rec level in the match and being able to unlock and acquire different items as the game goes on, but rather the pay to win side of things through the rec packs. But how exactly can they remove such a crucial part of Warzone and still make it just as enjoyable? Well, there's another game that I think they can look at for inspiration, being Star Wars Battlefront. And I'm specifically looking at a system in Star Wars Battlefront's 2 Supremacy mode. Throughout the match, for damaging and defeating enemies alongside other objectives, players will gain battle points, and these battle points can be spent on spawning in special characters such as Luke Skywalker or Yoda, but it even allows you to call in stuff like vehicles. Yes, I know Battlefront 2 also had an incredibly rocky launch with some pay-to-win elements that had a lot of people angry, but we're not talking about that today, specifically just looking at this system. I feel like if Warzone was to come back, it would need to do something similar, allowing you to earn a special type of point through the match, and these can then be spent on weapon variants, vehicles, armor abilities, etc, etc. Similar to how Warzone already is, but without that pay-to-win side to actually unlock access to those special weapons. This would immediately make the mode more accessible, as people don't need to grind the game or spend a load of money on it in order to get access to better weapons and vehicles to other players. Therefore, in my opinion, also making it more enjoyable. But I feel like there's also another way that 343 could make Warzone absolutely perfect and the definitive best Halo game mode. And that would be by combining elements of another game mode from another Halo title. Another mode that's extremely popular but never returned. And of course, I'm talking about Invasion. I doubt I really need to explain what this game mode is, but if for some reason some of you haven't played it, Invasion is again essentially another big team battle mode where the UNSC fight the Covenant for control of different objectives. Most of the time, the game mode will have you capturing a few different points before then needing to escort a core to some sort of vehicle, ending the game. It's much more of an attack and defend, more akin to another Warzone game mode we've seen already, being Warzone Assault. Like I've just mentioned, this is much more of an attack and defend type mode. One team is pushing the enemy bases while the other is just defending them. I didn't play this one a ton, and personally I'm not a huge fan of it, but it is arguably the closest thing we've had to Invasion since Halo Reach. Now personally, I think if 343 were to bring Warzone back for a future installment, if it was Spartans versus Elite or the UNSC versus the Banished, that would help make the mode feel so much more Halo. And again, you can still keep these rec systems in place, but going back to Battlefront 2, it can change what items you can unlock depending what team you're playing as, allowing you to spawn in different weapons, different vehicles, weapon variants, but maybe even different troops to come and help defend your bases. Like, imagine for saving up a certain amount of rec points throughout a match, you can spawn in some hunters, or even call in ODSTs to help you capture an objective. People have been clamoring for playable elites to come back for such an incredibly long time now, and even if they were something that were just restricted to a specific game mode, I think it's something fans would still appreciate incredibly, and it'd also still be something that they'd find very fun. And honestly, I think bringing these modes back and sort of merging them together is the best way to kill two birds with one stone. Bringing back both Warzone and Invasion as one huge game type that feels like an all-out war between the Banished and UNSC would be something truly special. Warzone is probably my favourite Halo game mode, and replaying it for this video was honestly more fun than I remembered. And I have a ton of memories playing Invasion on Spire and remember that being one of my favourite things ever. So having an experience like these in another Halo installment would be truly spectacular and something that I very much hope that 343 considers. Anyways, I believe that wraps up everything today. If you're of the same opinion and believe these modes need to return, let me know down in the comments. Or if there's any other Halo game modes that you miss, again, feel free to let me know. That's all from me today. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.